Well, welcome back, everyone. It's Tuesday. Time to put the smart hat on for the Doctor of Technology.
Hi, Jesse. How are you?
Jerry Friedman from Colden Company. And today's topic is disaster recovery.
That's right.
Or as the French would say, it's a disaster.
We must recover.
We must recover with the Doctor of Technology. This is a weird start to this one. Okay.
It can only go uphill from here.
Disaster recovery is not the same thing as backing up your data. Backing up your data is only part of a comprehensive disaster recovery program.
Right.
Explain that.
Okay, well, backing up your files is a major component of disaster recovery, but you really have to have a plan, and there needs to be a buy-in from management, and it really be a top-down kind of thing. It's not just an IT function.
Right.
So there are a lot of things that go into deciding what you need to do for a backup and recovery, disaster recovery plan.
Sure. Now, just so that our viewers and me as well, what components make up a good disaster recovery plan?
Well, first thing that you have to do is you have to look at what we call recovery time objective and recovery point objective,
Right.
which is sort of a techie way of saying what's the critical data that you need, how much of it can you afford to lose, and how long can you be without that data. And once you have an idea of those components, then you can then sit down and figure out what the right kind of solution is going to be to create a plan for you.
Now, the way you described it is a word that I wouldn't ordinarily use with this. You said there's a difference between file backup and image backup.
Right.
That's pretty much what you're talking about here?
Well, with a true disaster recovery solution, especially in a server environment, you're going to want what's an image level backup. File level backup is what a lot of people are using. Where you can back up a document, or you can back up files. My documents. Spreadsheets, things like that. In an image level backup, you're basically taking a snapshot of the server up to the last backup.
Sure.
And with a lot of backup disaster recovery or BDR solutions, that image backup can be every 30 minutes, as opposed to some of the traditional backups where before you go, you back up at the end of the day.
Sure. As a company, small, medium, or large company, how do you decide what plan is best?
Well, again, you need to sit down and figure out what your RPO and RTO, your recovery time, and how long can you be without that data? What's the important data? Once you have that idea, then we can, and plus how much data are you backing up? Then we can come in and work with you to design the right solution. BDR devices come in a variety of different sizes, depending on how much stuff has got to be on there.
Right, and also a point that Jerry made before we went on air was that people will tend to back up at the end of the day instead of some kind of automatic ongoing process. And we've been in this boat ourselves, Jerry, where we go to back up at the end of the day after all the production had been done. You lose something,
right?
Guess what? You lost the whole day.
Yeah.
So that's part of it as well, correct?
Right. That is again where it has to be a business function, not solely an IT function.
Right.
People have to understand that if you're doing a lot of transactional stuff, more frequent backups may be something that is a smarter way to go. And when you're also designing a backup solution, one of the if things is that it's easy to verify and easy to test. Because if you think you're backing up and you don't have it, you haven't backed up.
Right.
There's actually a story I read the other day. There's a small medical practice in the area that got the CryptoLocker virus.
Wow.
Encrypted all of their stuff, and they went to go use their backup, and they had never tested it, and it didn't work.
Oh, so they had to pay ransom.
They paid almost $1,000 in ransom to get their data back.
Wow, there's a lesson for us to learn, right?
Right.
Because, a lot of us back up just a very simple way at the end of the day, when in reality, a lot of that work is important to have saved. backed up,
and
so
and,
that if you get caught,
and
you
verified.
get it.
And one of the things
verified, right.
and one of the things that we do with that disaster recovery plan is that we talk about how often are you going to test it? How often do you verify it? And one of the devices that we're using have automatic snapshots.
Right.
That the backup is done, you get a snapshot, it verifies that the backup is done, and it's a solution that is relatively easy to test, to do a test restore. So you know that when you have a problem, that you can get your data back.
Right, and one thing that we talk about a lot also, updating the equipment. I never know how you keep track of all the latest developments in technology, but if you have a tape system, you could be in problems. So just thinking that you've got this base covered without the latest technology could also be a problem.
Right, tape has been a solution for a long time, but just like we no longer listen to cassettes or probably don't watch VHS.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
Some of us don't listen to cassettes. What you want to do is move into the newer technologies, and these newer BDR devices offer redundancy. We have something that's called a hybrid system, where you have a local device. It's in your building, attached to your network, and then it also sends the data out to 2 different data centers in different parts of the country for redundancy. Gotcha. That data is encrypted. So if you are under HIPAA compliance, for instance,
yes,
that's
right.
something that's really important. And one of the other beauties of a hybrid solution is if you lose your server, you lose a drive, you physically, the server, the plumbing above, leaks, and and your server is shot. This device will spin up and act as a virtual machine, so you are working again in real time in a matter of minutes, not days, not weeks. One of the problems with tape restores is, first off, they have a fairly high failure rate. It's slow to do. It's not encrypted, and it's also usually not redundant.
Right. There's another issue here too that we face in our business, which is that the tape deteriorates.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that data that you have on a tape is no longer useful because the tape is shot.
That's part of the failure rate. If you think about it, magnetic tape is something that was invented in 1928.
I remember.
Yeah. I think they gave you one for your 10th birthday.
Yeah, they did.
So it's not the latest technology. It's functional technology, but it's not the best technology, and quite often it's not the most cost-effective solution either.
Well, I can tell you from our own personal experience of working with Jerry, the one thing that you say, and I know I say it a lot, but it's really true, you protect your data just like any other asset.
Absolutely. The downtime is very expensive, so you want to maintain your systems with as much uptime as you can. And the statistics prove that data losses are expensive and can be catastrophic to a business's health. So you really want to make sure you take the steps to protect that data, especially now with all of the more virulent threats to your data, and data loss. You want to make sure that that's really backed up.
Well, I hope you're listening up, because having gone through this firsthand with Jerry, I can only tell you, don't think about it every day, but boy, when it happens to you, it is front and center. That's why we have you, the doctor of technology.
And we do make house calls.
You make house calls. That helps a lot as well. Well, have a safe Memorial Day.
Thank you.
We'll see you after that with more talks about technology.
Very good.
You got it. Thanks, Jerry. See this interview again, or if you have any questions for Jerry, please head to our website, looktvonline.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back with a recap of today's top stories and a final check on weather. But first, here's a look at what's happening in your neighborhood.